now, but when I was working with her, Dad doesn't love me. I said, how do you know he doesn't love you? Well, he doesn't give child support. Wouldn't support me. So again, money equals love, your relationship with love. Money equals relationship with your spirituality or religion. This one lady, she couldn't have money because she wasn't very good in math. So therefore, she can't handle money. So she had money, but her bank account got to a certain level, she had to quit. She had to go open another bank account because it got too scary. There's a lot of weird stuff around money. You know, girls aren't supposed to be good with money. You know, depends on how you're trained and what your upbringing is. Or boys aren't supposed to be good with money because Dad was horrible at it. He always spent it on alcohol or races or gambling or something, you know. So it depends on your training. Of course, sitting on Grandma's lap and she's telling you stories about how Grandpa used to be very wealthy and the Soviet Union or some government came in and took all their wealth away, or Grandpa was a gambler and he gambled the whole ranch away or the farm away, or World War something happened and then we all lost everything. You know, there's a million different stories that help create your financial successes. Now remember how I believe it, that your current financial situation is based on a successful understanding and programming from your great mind, and it picks up all these stories and it put it together and manifest something. You know, why is it someone could win the lottery, $10 billion, and in less than 7 years they're broke again? Why is it someone who's wealthy in one country and leave that country with nothing but the clothes on their back, within the next 5 to 10 years they're wealthy again? So there is a value in how you represent and see things.
Yes, wow. And so would you, when you're starting to work with the unconscious and money, do you look at money as a separate entity? Like, so you work with, like, here's money and, like, you know, the consciousness of money, and we're going to work on all the beliefs around money and what you think about money, because some people view money as dirty. You know, like how many times his mom said, you know, wash your hands, you just touch money. Money's been, you know, all over the place, and who knows where people, I mean, that was my programming around money. I had to do a lot of clearing around that. So do you look at money as a separate entity, or do you,
Well, it's a metaphor. I see it as a metaphor.
as a metaphor?
But the metaphor is basically designed by their mind and their references. You know, so again, you can have a family members with a very, let's say, very driven family, who their whole goal is to have money, right? Their whole goal is to have money. So some of the children will be successful financially, and some will be the opposite of financially successful because of their negative experiences and the manipulations with money. Because, you know, parents will use money to manipulate you, or if they give you money, then you will be obligated to do something, so therefore you hate money. Or, you know, Uncle Joe gave you some money because he did something he shouldn't do to you. I mean, there's a billion different reasons why people will have financial money issues. I mean, there's a lot. And even with your successes too, because I work with people who, what I call a poor rich person, you know? They grew up in a poor life, you know, they live a poor life, but they're not poor, they have plenty of money. But they still live the life of a poor person, and mentally and emotionally. And so there is, I remember I went to, you know, when I lived in Yukon, Oklahoma, I was in a neighborhood and I had the second largest house in the neighborhood. And this other guy had a really large house, large property. And somehow we were invited over to his house. We were talking, he's telling about his life. He talked about how poor he was growing up as a child. And he created a business building trailers, and now he's very wealthy. But the problem is he's emotionally bankrupt. You know, he's drinking all the time. He blows money at the casinos, just throwing his money away, because again, he feels so unworthy, because in his mind he's still a poor person in spite of all the finances, his abundance and all that stuff. There's a weirdness to it all, you know. Or even you inherited something, you know, like a large amount of money from Uncle Joe you hated for some reason. he gave you the money and you wanted to get rid of that as fast as you could. Or, you know, you get a, I don't
That.
know, yeah, something. I mean, there's so many different stories.
There's so many.
So
Yeah.
finances, now again, it's all about, I say trauma. Now, again, trauma has two ways, positive trauma, negative trauma. Now, to the brain, no traumas are negative or positive, they're just stories. And your brain will bring them in and use them. So you can have positive financial experiences and negative financial experiences. And to the brain, not consciousness, to the brain, they're both good. And it will use those to manifest what you currently have today.
Yes. Can you go back to, you said money is a metaphor. That's how you view it. For
Well, it
those
is.
that are listening, can you, yeah, go into more detail about that?
Well, one, so go into more detail. I just got a phone call. So ask the question again.
Okay. Um, Earlier you said money is a metaphor. Can you go into more detail about what that means?
Right. Well, money's a metaphor. One of them, whoever holds the purse strings, whoever controls the money, money will represent that person, right? So that means how dad handles money and how dad handles you could affect how you handle money, how you see money, and your identity with it. All right. So if you always wanted money and they couldn't have money and money is taken from you, so that's a metaphor of not being loved. For example, that metaphor equals love. Money equals love. Money equals love. So if all your life you never felt love and they didn't give you money either, so all your life you're looking for money to have money, starving for love, starving for money, and not ever being good enough to have it. So that's another metaphor.
Right. So my dad always complained if we were drinking too many sodas. So I stopped drinking all soda. And then he started complaining about the ice cream. So I stopped eating all ice cream because it costs too much. Where is the, all my money's being swallowed up by the soda, by the ice cream. And so I remember standing in the garage, and I've cleared this using Utaptics, faster EFT. But I remember standing in the garage, and as my dad was complaining, and he was in one of his rages, I thought, I will become a millionaire and I will help out my parents so that they'll never have to worry about money again. And so that's what I did. I became a millionaire. So, but what I didn't know is the driving force behind all of it.
Was pain, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, that is a very common one. And the problem is too, like I talk about Tim a lot. Tim is he's a very successful multi-millionaire and all this stuff, but he's ready to kill himself. You know, you look at him, he got a great wife, great job, great life, but he's ready to kill himself. And of course, I'll go to 4 and I look at him, he looks like a drug addict. He looks out of it. And so I said, hey, what's going on, Tim? I said, I'm so depressed. I feel like my family would be better without me. I've got a noose hung up in the attic. I'm ready to kill myself. I'm on a couple of antidepressants, and nothing's getting better. I said, well, what's the deal? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know Tim, but I don't know Tim. So I started telling about his story. Well, his story goes back as a child. His dad was the town fool, the town drunk, the town loser. And everybody knew that. They know them. They know who he was. And so I think it's like in 2nd grade, his teacher said, well, you're just as sorry as your dad and sorry as your brothers. You'll never amount to anything. That hurt him. So he vowed to be somebody. So he worked hard and he had money, but money doesn't make you happy. I work with people who have money who are just as miserable as people without money. There's no difference in the two. You think having enough money will make you happy. Don't kid yourself. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're still going to take your misery with you. You're going to still take your traumas with you. You may have more money to spend on therapy or alcohol or drugs or escape mechanisms, but it doesn't solve your problem. So it's the weirdness of it all. It's all metaphors. It's an expression. And so Tim was driven by his pain to have money. And people think you're happy and successful with money. Money doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you successful. Sure, you can just actually buy a new car, but the new car becomes a normal. Living in a big house that people think, oh, you must be happy having this big house. And yet there's turmoil, fights, and conflicts and depression in that big ass house.
Right.
You know, so it does. Money is just, it's almost like a status symbol, thinking you're somebody, but if inside you you're nobody, you're trying to find yourself, you know. So there is a weirdness to it. Now, when we say not all people, you can't say everyone. You know, there's a lot of people who work on themselves, and you know, it's a mix of a lot of things. And you know, to be successful, you're driven to be successful to please your daddy, and you're still trying to please daddy, even if you never see him. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so again, that's your, it's like I'll make sure, it's so common, like with kids, they grow up, you know, if, you know, we're working on this guy publicly, his name's G, and so G, you know, he keeps dating people who's really messed up, and he's trying to fix them and solve their problem. And so he was, you know, his mom was depressed, and so he read a book to mom, and it made her happy, it made her smile. So he took on this role to make people happy. My job was to make people happy, right? Mm-hmm. So anytime mom was dead, he'd bring out Humpty Dumpty and read it to her and make her feel really good. Well, he keeps dating people who are unhappy, and he can't fix it. So some people say, if I'm only perfect, my parents won't fight. If I'm only perfect, the world will be better. So if I only please my daddy and make money and be like daddy, the hardworking money maker. And why does daddy want to make money? Well, because he come from a poor country, come from a poor family, and he's working to provide. And you know, some people, you know, like this nurse, she was, her best coping skill was working and staying busy all the time. Now it's time to retire. She's in her 70s, she retires. Well, work kept her from thinking. Work kept her from knowing herself. She had money, but when she stopped working, which she had to stop, I mean, she retired, she's getting up there. Now she has all this money, and guess what she spent it on? Trying to get her health back and her therapy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there has to be what I call a happy balance. And again, respecting money, handling money. So a lot of people don't respect money, they dislike money. You know, there's a lot of good courses out there on how to make friends with money, you know. Dave Ramsey course, and there are a lot of other financial courses, even though his is kind of a spiritual nature, but there is a practical knowledge and understanding about handling money. Money represents God. I hate God, I hate church, I hate religion, and I hate money. So again, there's a lot of weirdness to money. So when people work on the paycheck, you know, when because, you know, I grew up poor, you know, and I picked up some really positive traumas around money. And when I say trauma, trauma is just an experience that affects your decisions and value, right? Mm-hmm. So my money programming, and, you know, of course, I come from poor. We didn't have much, and we had to figure out how to survive. But my grandmother, she was 34 years old when I was born. You know, my mother's 15, and of course she would come and get us. We'd think she's rich because she had money. We live in this old crappy little place, you know, and she would feed us. And then she had this one little room that you can't get to because it's locked up. She kept it locked. But, you know, I've been in that room, and there's a little hole in the floor that you can crawl underneath the house and get in that room. So I did, and me and my brothers did, because we knew in there was the candy. So we'd crawl in there and get the candy. And so she brought us out and talked to us about it. I said, listen, I buy these candies, and I take them to work, and I sell them, and I make money. So that was a spark in my mind. Not that I didn't do anything with it, because I didn't know anything about that, but it was an imprint that Grandma had the idea of buying something and reselling it and making money off of it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure after that, I think it was maybe in kindergarten or first grade, my parents were hard workers. My dad definitely was. I mean, he's the oldest of 9, and he was the oldest, and he always worked hard. He was a roofer, and so We moved to Lubbock, Texas, and of course it's me and my brother. I don't think my sister and them were born. Hell, I had to have been born, but anyway, they weren't with us. And back behind our house, apartment actually, there was an old shed that had baby jars, colored water, and I saw roses over here. So I don't know how I got this idea, but I put the roses in the baby jars, put the colored water on it, and I sold them to an old lady. She gave me like $1 for 2 of them, you know? And I thought, wow, I made $1. And I told my mom. So that, I guess it's from my grandma's training. Somehow I put it together, and that's what I did. So it was a feel good. So it was a positive imprint of making money, right?
Yes.
So I've learned just by witnessing. Now that's my positive. Now I do have had bad experiences with money too, and so I obviously worked on those. But you know, so I have some, you know, some experiences and training, and so by my grandmother's exposure gave me an idea that you can make money, you know, and I did that. You know, I remember when I was like, I think it was in the 7th grade or 6th grade, moved to Oklahoma City. Of course, we got money for lunch. I wouldn't buy lunch. I'd saved my money, and I would go to this, it's called Big Giant Warehouse there in Oklahoma City, and they had what you call freight damaged food. And I'd go in there and buy these long Jolly Rogers suckers, you know, they're long ones, but they're all stuck together. And I'd take them home and put them in the bathtub, warm water, clean them all up, and I paid a penny a piece for them. And when I took them to school, I sold them 25 cents a piece, right? And then, of course, I don't know how I got into this, but some neighborhood boys, they were into pigeons. So I'd save my money, buy pigeons, and I'd buy a pigeon here and a pigeon there, put them together. They're a matching breed because most people don't realize there's all kinds of fancy pigeons, you know. So I'd buy 2, you know, let's say giants, or, you know, just bigger pigeons, a male over here and a female over there, and I'd go in and sell them as a couple, and I'd make more money. So that's what I did, you know. So I guess I learned that from my grandmother, you know. And I didn't know I learned it, but I picked it up, and then later on I utilized that. And I've always been kind of that way, just put things together, being creative. I created tactics by taking many pieces together, creating something that actually works. You know, it's like there's a logic to the system. And of course, when I first started, you know, of course, you know, I bought a course in '99, the EMO-free Gary Craig's tapping, EFT. And, you know, my wife's had some really big traumas in her life, some negative traumas. And I wanted to help her with it, so I bought this course, and I started helping people with it, and I like helping people. I've seen changes, you know. And then one day a lady gave me $50 for helping her. I go, what? You get paid to do this? And so then I started creating my own business. Of course, you know, back then, you know, I was a garage sale shopper, and I still like garage sales and thrift stores and all that stuff. Because, you know, you had to get what you call the best deal for your money. Stretch as far as you can. And so then I just ended up creating my own stuff, you know, my own business. I'd make my own VHS tapes. And that's a lot of work, I'm telling you. Then I started making my own DVDs, and I had like 99 DVD of courses I sold a lot of. I did every one of them. I made them all myself. And then, of course, trainings and live trainings and webinars and all this stuff by just the creativity of putting 2 things together and create something new. So that's kind of how I did stuff, you know. And you be kind of conscious of this and aware of what works and what doesn't work and what people want. Because having more, especially financially, is really simple. It's so simple. Basically, and Jesus said this, those of you who wish to be great must serve many. So those of you who want to have more money, you must serve, give a supply, a service, or a product that helps a lot of people. It's not mystical. It's not magical. People make it out to be some kind of energy force. It's not. It's practicality. And again, it breaks down to your emotional training, your emotional experiences, and your creativity in supplying a service that people will pay you for. That's how simple it is.
There's so much wisdom in what you said. And so I know that's sparking ideas within people to start building. Even if you feel like you're at the end of your rope and you can't do this, there's something with Robert, with what he just said, that can really spark a new a new endeavor or a new experience, because everyone has something inside of them. Everyone has the ability to do this, to increase your abundance. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot in what you just said there. So I hope that sparked a lot of people to make a shift or a change in what they're doing right now.
Well, again, there's some major components to have more. Number one component is changing what's inside you about it. If you have a belief and you've been raised up, rich people are bad people, they
Yes.
have money, they never been around poor people then, because they have the same.
I love that. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
There are greedy people who are poor people.
Yes.
There are
Yeah.
kind people who are wealthy people. There are kind people who are poor people.
Hmm.
So, I do a lot of great exercises on really opening your mind up about your values and belief system. But it's like I said, it's not an energy. It's a value. It's a training that you have experienced in your life. And if you want more, you got to be more within yourself. And your being more is breaking the family traditions and attitudes and beliefs in and around finances.
And you can learn how to permanently change your mind with Robert's course, Mind Over Money, the Key to Great Abundance. He will show you how to reprogram your money mindset and start creating lasting financial freedom. And you can find that link in the show notes below. Even though people want more money, but they might feel resistance to receiving it,
Mhm.
why do we create this resistance to being financially successful?
Well, we are financially successful. That's the misnomer. Your current
Yes.
success, I mean, a lot of people, their success is what they have and based on their program. So you're not a failure currently. You may not be pleased with it, but you're also following a pattern that you've learned from where you come from. And like I said, you could have an abundance of something happen in your life, and it won't take you very long for it to disappear again because you're staying in alignment with your unconscious trainings. So in order to have more, you got to be more within yourself. And that by doing that, again, your value doesn't come by how much money you have. It comes by who you are as a person and what you do to attract what you are. So again, don't think you're successful if you have money. You are money. You have a better life probably today, every one of you, than your grandparents did and your great grandparents did. The quality of your life now is way better than what they had. But if you're not happy with what you have currently, change your inner references of what you've learned. And again, if you have money in your hand, is it safe with you? So money's like a screwdriver. You use it to make things, to build things, and do things. So I say I welcome the presence of money. I welcome in my life, and I use it to manifest more. Money works for me. I don't work for it. It is something that works on my behalf. And so when you see that as a relationship and that you handle it in a smart way, whenever I was like I started listening to Anthony Robbins, and I don't know what year, probably 95, 97, something like that. And I bought the Your Unlimited Power, it's a tape series. And then I bought his 30-day tape series. And one of the things that I learned, many things I learned from him, was one of the things that's really important. It said, learn to be an investor. Now, invest in your life, invest in your mind, invest in your body, invest your finances. So you got to handle money as it's going to work for you. Again, some people live from paycheck to mouth, and there's not enough paycheck for the mouth. And that's a belief system that we learn from where we come from. And if you had an opportunity to take money or to make money, if your belief says no, you won't. Now, your beliefs are built by experiences, watching your family handle money, watching how you've been told that rich people are bad or feel like rich people are bad. So you won't move beyond that. So I'm listening to Anthony Robbins stuff, and I listen to it all the time And then I listened to a lot of others, but then the very early days, and he's explaining to you how you handle money, your relationship with money. And of course, at that time, I didn't think I'd drive anything newer than 1978. I drove Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth products because I couldn't work on it myself. I lived in a 14 by 80 mobile home. Behind my cars, I had like 45 junk cars, which I bought and sold the parts off of. So I didn't think I could have anything better because I had my poor mindset. But he expanded my thinking about me as a person and how I look at money, how I handle my money. And again, money is just a tool.
Yeah.
It's like using a pencil or a pen or a hammer. And so when you start looking at it as a relationship with you, relationship with yourself, relationship with the people in your life, then you start to operate differently. And now, you know, I paid $11,000 for that property I had. And the neighbor across the street, he just said, hey, I just bought this property here. And I said, well, he said, I gave $1,100 for it. I go, what? I paid $11,000. How'd you do that? Now, prior to listening to Anthony Robbins and all that stuff, I probably wouldn't have done anything. But I was an investor now, investing in me. He said, well, I went down to the county. I bought the back taxes on it. I notified everyone, put it in the paper and all that stuff. If they don't come and pay for it, in 90 days, it's yours. Well, I went down and I just started studying, and I went down and I did exactly that. The first property I bought, I paid $450 for it, 1 acre, west of town. And I told my friend Mike, hey, I just bought this 1 acre property on back taxes. And he goes, well, I'd like to go see it. I told him, show it to him. I said, I'll trade you this car. He had a 1967 Pontiac turquoise convertible, you know, Firebird. I traded to him. I got $450. I got this car. I sold it for $4,500. So within, not even a month, I took $450 and turned into, plus the $700, whatever it was the taxes were. So then I bought the second one, and then the third one, and the fourth one. And the second one I bought, I think I paid $1,500 for it. 10 years later, I sold it for $40,000. I rented out the first year for $1,500 that I bought it for. So it's amazing. So, but I would never have done any of that stuff had I not started learning and letting go of my beliefs about money and negativity. And also had some positive traumas with money. Trauma is a positive experience that my brain will use to manifest, and it goes back to my grandmother. So again, some people would never step outside their comfort zone. They're going to die in the same house their parents lived in. They will never outgrow it. And by the way, your dad apparently was probably a hardworking, money-making person. And so you had a decision. You chose to follow in his footsteps. But as you know, I mean, you've talked about your dad. He's not the happiest camper in the world.
No.
And so you need to be a happy camper if you're going to have money. And you got to clean up your daddy's stuff, your mama's stuff, your kids' stuff, and any other stuff you have. Because again, money doesn't make you happy. Keeps you busy. And like that one woman, she had money, but she's still poor. And when she died, the children had millions of dollars, and they just blew it. Blew it because they didn't respect money either. It didn't take long to go through it.
Exactly. Okay, so the money that we do have, that is a success. So wherever our listeners are today, whether they are poor or rich or struggling, that is a success. And so we want to change our inner resources. We want to change the programming in order to change what we're experiencing in our life. So where do our listeners start?
Where you start is of course, I teach people how to do this. One, what I would do, if you say you want something better and you don't like what you have, I would say write down everything you don't like about your life, about your finances, and about your world. Now, when you do that, you're going to find a lot of emotions there. And these emotions are what's supporting you to stay in where you are. It keeps you there, right? And so what I do is I work with what you don't want, what you hate, what you despise, and you don't like and don't want. Mm-hmm. Because that keeps you locked in the miserable parts of your life, in your world. So we clean that up, and then I do different programs. Like, first of all, we got to clean up your beliefs about money, your beliefs about people who have money. You change your mental experiences and emotional experiences with what your parents said, what you personally experienced at work. Some people get so angry because of working for nothing and not being appreciated. And guess what kind of life they still live? Working for nothing, not being appreciated. And they go to work and they bitch and complain about their work. And so again, these are what you call corrupting your financial abundance, having more.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of areas to work on in your life. Like I said, your exposure from growing up, what was said about money, how they handle money, the pains about money. And then you got to clean all those up, change those. Now, I will say this, when I say clean them up, we update the memories and change the memories where it's the opposite of what you had, right? Because the understanding about how the brain works, and this is very simple, every memory is a training on how to do something. Even if you watch mom and dad fight, that's a training on how to have a relationship with family members. And if it's about money, you learn how this relationship you have with money. So you got to update your mental programs. Now, memories are not the real deal. It's a translation and interpretation of what happened outside you. So you internalize your parents. So that becomes you, the griper and the complainer, and the one who's wasteful with money in your mind. So you got to change everything inside your mind. Now, again, when I say change, memories aren't the real deal. Your memories are like Memorex. It looks real, but it's not real. And if you change memories in your mind, you don't change what happened in time. You can't change something that doesn't exist. So when you update your memories in your mind, you're only updating what your brain will recycle on you. So you are your dad, and you are your mother in your head. And when you look at money and you feel uncomfortable, you're uncomfortable with having money. And you'll keep you from having more.
Yes. That's really good. All right.
So hey guys, if you like this information with having money, when you look at money and you feel uncomfortable, and it will recycle on you. So you are your dad, and you are your mother in your head. And when you look at money and you feel uncomfortable, you're uncomfortable with having money. And you'll keep you from having more.
Yes. That's really good. All right.
So hey guys, if you like this information and would like to know more and you want a better quality of life, subscribe to my videos. Take one of my courses or all of them. They're going to change your life. To get something better, you got to do something better. If you keep repeating the same cycle, you stay on a cycle you don't want. So break the rules, change your mind, and your body will follow those changes. So subscribe. If you want me to help you clean up your head, I'm the expert. Been doing it for 26 years, and you get really measurable results, really good results. Or learn to do it yourself. Be the master of your own life. So sign up, take a course. You can change yourself. You want to improve your finances, you got to change yourself. So do something different.
Yes, and we'll make sure those links will be found in the show notes. On, something that I did with money was I was very focused on how I related to money so that I was able to be aware of how I related to money. So I would open up my bank account and I would notice in the moment, okay, how do I feel opening it up? And how do I feel paying a bill? And that will bring up a lot of your programming because you'll feel a certain way. But if you're not tuned into it, if you're so focused on, I have to pay this bill, rather than noticing how you're reacting to paying the bill. And this is where most arguments start, is around the bill, the tension around money. Well, that didn't come from yesterday. I mean, it came from, like you said, your childhood, past experiences. You've already experienced some kind of programming around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing, what I did, because I've been doing this for 26 years, and so money was a major issue of finances. And so what I would do with every bill, except for the utilities, I just pay them, no big deal. But like I had a car payment, I'd always pay more. My house payment, I'd always pay more. And I would celebrate each time I did that. I'm getting it paid off. I feel really good. I'm taking control. And that's what I do. I feel good about paying my bills off, paying extra. When I bought my house, I bought it, and I had a 15-year note. I paid it off in 7 years because I had the money and I wanted to do that. That was a priority for me. So every note that I ever have, I make sure I pay it off. Now, my grandmother too played a major role in that because when I was in high school, she was the moneymaker I lived with my grandmother, my grandfather, and she was the smart one in the bunch. And so she took me down to the bank and got me a signature loan, and she signed this. By the time I graduated from high school, I've had 18 different loans, and I paid them off. I go in and say I want to get a loan. They just give me a loan because I have a great credit record. I currently have a great credit record now. It's over 800. So again, she educated me on this. And so, creating a work ethics, even with yourself or with your children, if you don't like working, find a smart way to make money, A smart way would be create something. There was a guy back in the early days, so just right when I started learning the neuroplasticity, how the brain works and updating memories, I had a 1970s Dodge Super Bee. It was a black on black coupe, like one of 300 built, no motor, nothing in it. And he bought it from me. And he's telling me about it. I said, he talked about money or something. And so I said, well, I just learned this process. If you want to, I'll kind of help you with a little bit of that money stuff. So I worked on him, and then he came back, I don't know how long ago later, and he created a racing piston that goes inside the motor, piston, the crankshaft and the piston. And he created a piston out of some kind of aircraft material that's super light. He created this, and he made lots of money with it. I mean, lots and lots of money because it was very ingenious. Now, each of you have an ingenious about you. There's something in you that creates and manifests. And you can use that part, but you have to be aware of what it gives you and ask important questions. Just keep asking. Keep asking.
Yes.
And your brain will do that. I mean, I created what I created by just asking, how can I do this better?
Yes. I love that you're talking about this because I watched my sister working a 9 to 5, hated her job, still hates it today, still works at this job. She hates it. She lets everyone know how much she hates it.
Yeah.
And that's her life. And then she will tell me everybody at work feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, gosh, I don't even know what to say about that except
this is what my dad said. It's very crude. And he says, don't shit in your own bed. That's very crude. Now, what does that mean? Your job is paying your bills. If you hate your job, you hate going to your job, you think your job's going to treat you well, or if you dislike money, you hate stuff, you're screwing up something that will change your world. So if you hate where you're working at, you got to change your attitude because you can jump out of the frying pan right in the fire. You'll leave one job, hate that one, to hate another job. Your attitude and your emotions play a major role in what you have and you don't have. So do not crap in your own bed. Do not you don't do that with your relationships when you come home. You don't do it with your children. You don't do it with your work. All of these are what we call sacred, holy grounds. You treat them with respect. If you have a problem, work on yourself and change the problem. Have a conversation, make an adjustment. So again, like if you hate what pays your bills, you're going to always have problems.
Right, but that's successful for the people that don't
Oh,
like
it's
it.
very successful. Yeah.
Because it's in alignment with what they know. Mom and dad complained about their job, and now we're just following the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wow. So then, for our listeners that are hearing this, they're working a 9 to 5? They don't like it.
Well, first of all, learn to like it.
Okay. Okay. So you wouldn't say quit, get out of there, follow your.
No, that's stupid because you're going to take the same attitude with
Right.
working with yourself.
That is so wise.
You've got to fix your bad stuff. Don't think you're just, it's like this woman said, I will be so happy when I retire. I freaking hate my job. And I go, well, how long do you have to retire? She said, 10 more years. So for 10 more years, I said, you're going to be hating your job. And all of a sudden, a miracle occurs. You retire. What are you going to do with all these skills of hating your job? Where are you going to turn that to? Don't think it's going to disappear because you practice and rehearsed hating that. You're going to hate about the dog who comes and craps on your yard. You're going to hate that your check's not on time. You're going to hate the government. You're going to hate your body. You're going to hate something because this is a motif, a pattern, and that you destroy yourself. You know, make peace with your daddy. Make peace with your mother. Make peace with your government. Make peace with finances. Make peace with your body. Make peace with your memories. Make peace with yourself. When I say make peace, change everything that's inside you that's not pleasant. Don't think it's going to change because you take your crappy attitude with you everywhere you go. So make sure it's a positive attitude.
Yeah, that is so wise. And then for in mainstream, when I hear people talking about manifesting more money, usually it starts with an affirmation that you're to repeat morning and evening, 5 to 10 times. I'm so happy and grateful for $10,000 a month. And, like, so you have that way of manifesting, like that's mainstream thought. So can you talk to the people that are hearing
Well,
about
that's pretty logical that if you got a cup with everything you hate and it's full of the disappointments and letdowns, and you say, I want something positive and it's full, where's the positive going to go? It's not going in. It's going to roll off to the side. So using a positive affirmation, that's great. But which wins? And most of you know what I'm talking about. You enroll in sign of therapy, you tried this, you ayahuasca, you tried furniture beating, you tried hypnosis, you tried every talk therapy. Try to make peace with that thing inside you. You'll have a feel good for a while, and then you go right back to what's inside you. You have to change what's inside you first. And if something positive happens, it's going to feel good for a little bit, and you're going to go right back to your normal unhappy self, unhappy programming. People do it all the time. I work them all the time. I tried every therapy in the world. Nothing seems to work. I said, well, it's working successfully for you. You're a complete failure at everything you try. That's a 100% success. I said, but you're not happy with it because you feed it, you manifest it, and you produce it. So what you want to do is you've got to update the disappointments, the stories, and the stories what grandma told you, and the little stories you hold to build an enemy called finances and financial abundance. There's going to be a fight from your unconscious. Consciously, you want this, but your unconscious says, "Yeah, good luck with that one. I got enough proof to say no way." So the smart person will go back here